So, hello everyone, Hubert here, and a really special guest today is here with me, John from Volbeat. How are you, man? All good?
Yeah, all good. You?
Uh, all good, all fine. Stoked for this conversation. Is that true that recording God of Angels Trust took only 13 days?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I think we spent like yeah 3 weeks in total, actually, in the studio. It went really quick, which is the way we actually like to record. Not that we don't like being in the studio, but we are very well prepared once we enter the studio. We know what we have to do and stuff. So, but it went actually very quick. Just like Servant of the Mind actually only took like 2.5, 3 weeks. So yeah,
Yeah. Have you guys had a tendency to overcomplicate things on the previous albums, or you always worked this way, as Michael said, instinctual
yeah,
way?
yeah. That is the right word to do it like that. But one of the things about that is actually because Jakob, our producer, has been with us God knows how many years, and
Yeah.
a long time ago, he actually said, "You guys are the best in the studio if we can nail it within 2, 3 takes, drumming wise and guitar wise as well." So, and he said because after the third take, your energy level just starts to go down the drain, and then you tend to struggle with things and all that. And he said that's no good. So if we don't get it within 2 to 3 takes, then we move on to something else. But for this album and the previous album as well, a lot of the drumming on those two albums is basically first takes.
Hmm.
And nowadays, of course, you have Pro Tools and you have all these magic things that you can do. So if the overall take is actually very good, but maybe a small segment could use maybe a bit more fire to it, then you can cut back and forth, unlike the old days where you had to play the whole thing through. So most of the drum tracks in this one and guitar parts as well and bass too is more or less first takes, a lot of it, and then if there are, like I said, a little bit that's maybe a little bit off, then you can cut back and forth.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, he's with you, the producer, I think since the first record, right? So what's the story of this, I would say, long-term relationship between him and the band?
Oh, let's see, we did the very first demo in 2002, I think. And I don't know if Michael sent a copy to Jakob, or at least he got a copy of it somewhere. And he said, I think it's quite a good, but I think I can do something more with it.
Hmm.
So when it came time to do the second demo, which was the Beat the Meat demo, that was the first time we went to Jacob's place, and he gave us a completely different sound, which is more like our sound, so to speak. And not that we spent, really more time with it as such. Not that I remember. I think we were there for maybe 2 or 3 days, and then the demo was done, and we were all very happy about the results that he did back then. So it was kind of a no-brainer when it came time to do the first album that he should produce it, and he has been there ever since. And we I don't see us really working with anybody else, actually.
Hmm.
I mean, it might happen. Who knows? But I don't see it happen, actually. Rob
Okay.
did produce the Outlaw album, which was once we got to know Rob, and he said, I could really love to work with you guys production wise, and we were like, yeah, maybe we should try, a new approach at that
Mhm.
time. So that's how Rob actually came into the picture. But we always kept Jacob in the background, so he was involved in that too. But like
Yeah.
I said, we've been working with Jacob ever since forever, and we probably will until either he retire or we retire, or we both retire. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, as we're talking about the beginnings of the band, You guys, you and Michael were, I think, both over 30 years old in 2005 when you released the first album. Did that,
Yeah.
yeah, and did that experience that you've already had then helped you at the beginnings of the career as you weren't, young, 20 years old guys?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he had gone through a lot of it with his previous band, Dominus. So of course he had already learned, some of the pitfalls and what to do and what not to do. So of course that experience and he could take with him into what became Volbeat. So absolutely. And yeah, like you said, he was 30 and I was, I don't know, 257 or something. So
Mm.
yeah, we were not kids when we started, and maybe that was a good thing. If we have been maybe early 20s or even younger than that, maybe we wouldn't have been here today.
Okay. Yeah, let's get back to the new album because Volbeat sounds really, really heavy on this record. And was that instinctual too this time around to sound, I think, maybe heavier than on the previous albums?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I think one of the ideas that was floating around, excuse me, for this one was also let's perhaps keep it a bit more loose, a bit more open
Mhm.
minded of what we are doing. And yeah, some of the songs went out towards the more heavy side on this one, but there are still the more up tempo, dare I say, happy type of
Mhm.
songs with the big chorus and everything. But I think perhaps one of the reasons why it maybe this one is maybe perhaps a little bit heavier is Michael did the As in Hell thing, which is old school death metal,
Yeah.
and he has gone back for the last couple of years listening to a lot of the death metal stuff and all that. So maybe that transpired a little bit into the Volbeat thing, but he has a very clear mind on how Volbeat should sound and what to do and what not to do. So yeah, in total, yeah, this maybe turned out to be a little more dark and a little more heavy than perhaps the previous albums. But we've done it before, actually.
Mhm.
Some people still say that the first two, maybe three albums is way more heavier or darker, whatever you would call them. Some of the later albums.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you guys played with the word goat this time. The album title is God of Angels Trust. The tour is called Greatest of All Tours, and we can see the goat on the album cover and
Mm-hmm.
also in the title of the second single. Could you please tell me more about this mysterious goat?
Nope.
Okay.
I think I would leave that up to people to decide what the goat is.
All right. In which band, let's get back to maybe the beginnings of Volbeat, was which band or maybe bands were the most inspiring for you when you when you were starting your musical career? Was that I would say maybe the classic heavy metal scene or maybe the thrash metal scene with Metallica and Slayer?
It was a huge mix of everything,
Hmm.
everything from, you know, the great big artists of the 50s, Elvis, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, etc., up until, some of the 60s stuff, the Beatles and the Stones. And then, yeah, of course, the heavier stuff like, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Slayer, etc.
Hmm.
But it was just when we started it way back in the days. Me and Michael hooked up first, and he had like I would say three kind of half songs that he played to me. And the first thing he played was like a very Black Sabbath type of thing,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, yeah, Children of the Grave type of vibe to it. Second thing he played was more like, I would say, maybe a Green Day, Misfits, Offspring type of song, and I was like, okay. And the third song was way more in the vein of, you know, Megadeth, Metallica, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is very interesting. So what approach are we going for? The Sabbath, the punkish, full on metal, whatever. And he said, you know what? I don't care. That's not what he said, but I don't care. Let's just, you know, play whatever we want to play. If it turns out to be more like, you know, a Metallica type of song, so be it. If it's going to be like, you know, Offspring, Green Day type of song, so be it. Mm-hmm. And that was actually how it started, you know, not thinking too much about, oh, we have to sound like this or we have to do like that. Oh, we can't do that because then you're not this or that. It was just like, no, let's just play whatever we feel like. Mm-hmm. And it's still actually kind of like that, you know. We don't sit down and say, oh, we got to do, you know, a Metallica type of songs because then we are a metal band. Oh, we got to do, you know, a song or well, something like that. It's still, you know, one big huge mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unbelievable how eclectic I would say the Volbeat music is. Please tell me, how did it feel to record "Don't Tread on Me" by Metallica for the Metallica Blacklist?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were in the studio actually recording what became the Servant of the Mind thing, and we got it was our management, Q Prime, who is also Metallica's management, and they wanted to put together that Blacklist thing, and we were asked if we wanted to participate in it, and we were like, yeah, but what song? Oh, it has to be a song from the Black album. And we were like, ooh, we don't really know about that because it's such an iconic album. Yeah. Whatever you love it or hate it, everybody has a copy of it. So our initial thought was actually, we're not so sure about that. And then it was like, well, which one of the songs? We said we would not touch, you know, Enter Sandman or Sad But True or any of the more, you know, Nothing Else Matters, whatever. We said that's a big no-no for us. And they said, no, don't worry about it. It was Don't Tread on Me and maybe My Friend of Misery or something. Mm-hmm. That the management said, well, we were thinking about those because, you know, the big songs of the album, you know, tons of other artists has already done that. But we were still very unsure about it. And it happened so that we were supposed to go home for the weekend from the studio, and Michael said, I'm going to stay behind and see if I can come up with something to make a version of it. And he came up with what became our version of Don't Tread on Me, and we recorded it, but we still wasn't sure about it. And of course we had the right to say no, we don't want to do it, but you know, we did a recording of it, and you know, Q Prime loved it, and we tried to make it our own version. Of course, trying to keep the essence of the Metallica song, but we wanted to make it our own version. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that's basically how it ended up. And you know, we've done it live a couple of times, you know, but yeah, it was a fun thing to do, but it was also kind of scary because, you know, not only is it Metallica, but it's from one of the biggest albums of all time, you know, so it was kind of nerve-wracking to do it, and we knew that we didn't want to do, you know, a direct copy of their version. So ours is, we sped our version up so it's actually faster than their version, and we added the boogie thing to it.
Mm-hmm. A very big tour for Volbeat is coming starting June in Canada. Mm-hmm. Many dates have been announced. Many of them is already sold out.
Yeah,
as I saw on your Instagram. But the most important show for Polish fans will take place in Warsaw, Porwar Hall on October 13. So what could your Polish fans expect this time?
Well, yeah, what can they expect? They can expect us to be there and do what we do. You know, we basically just go up and play. You know, that's what we do. You know, we are in essence, a live band. We always love to play live, no matter where we are and whatever, we just love to play live. And we are very excited about going back out on tour. We haven't been on tour for almost 2 years. And it's just going to be, hopefully a night of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everybody be there when
yeah, they better be there.
To Warsaw. For the end, let's talk about your perspective, maybe as a listener of music, because I'm curious, how are you listening to music these days? Is it vinyls, CDs, or maybe just streaming these days?
I don't do the streaming thing. I'm way too old for that. I have no clue what that's all about, So I'm buying vinyl, CDs, even DVDs if you can still find them. That's what I prefer. I've always done that. I'm not a huge fan of listening to stuff on my phone or a computer or anything like that. That's not for me. And I know everybody's doing it and everybody's happy about it, and more power to them. But I prefer to have a physical product in my hand, CD, vinyl, cassette, whatever. That doesn't matter.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, John, for this amazing conversation.
Thank you.
All the best for you with the album release and with the tour.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye.